Before we begin today, a little bit of context. Out west, Suncor is building a fleet of 150 driverless trucks, autonomous trucks, that'll cut 400 jobs over the next 6 years. That oil sands project gives us some context for what we're going to talk about today. I'm Mr. McBrien. This is TIJ10, Introduction to Computer Engineering. So before we begin talking about computer engineering, let's talk a little bit about the computer courses at CKSS. Computer engineering has the TEJ code. There's grade 10, 11, and 12. Computer science, the ICS code. And communications technology, TGJ. Let's unpack these each a little bit. So computer engineering has a focus on hardware, networking and IT, computer design and repair, robotics, the design of electronic circuits, and the design of automation systems. Communication technology, on the other hand, is using computers to communicate, audio-visual, websites, these kinds of things. In computer science, the focus is on software design, so programming applications. Obviously, we're going to spend more time on computer engineering today, and I'd like to talk a little bit about why I think it's interesting. Before I do so, maybe you should take just a few seconds, pause the video, and think about why you think it's interesting. And then I'll give you my perspective. Okay, so we started today talking about autonomous dump trucks in the oil sands. Not a very provocative subject, maybe, except about the 500 jobs that get eliminated through this. 500 jobs, wait a second. It said that 400 jobs would be eliminated. Well, in fact, 500 dump truck drivers will lose their jobs. But at the same time, about 100 electrical technicians in charge of keeping the autonomous trucks going will find work. So we're going to go from unskilled truck driving jobs to skilled electrical engineer jobs. And this is an important distinction. And this is a trend which we can see throughout Canada and throughout the world. So is it just dump trucks? Is it just oil sands? Well, we've seen a lot of changes since your parents were in high school, and I'd like to give you a little bit of a perspective on what changes we've seen in the last quarter century, and so what changes we'll see easily within your lifetime that we can't anticipate. So I'm going to give you some perspectives on how we did things 25 years ago that should get you thinking about the ways things may change over the next 25 years. So let's talk about navigation and how we traveled throughout the world in 1992. Whether you were in a plane, a car, or on foot, you tended to use paper maps to travel around. So you had a stack of these pieces of paper, and you had one of these crazy compasses, and this was how you moved around. The GPS system had not been opened up to commercial use. If you wanted to take a picture in 1992, you used an expensive, messy chemical process. On the other hand, you could get as many as 36 pictures taken on one of these cameras, and it only cost you about $1 per picture. And of course, you also could, by 1992, get your pictures back sometimes as quickly as 24 hours after you took them. You could look at your picture. Amazing. Now, of course, we can store 1,000 photos on our phone. We had a similar situation with portable music. In 1992, we had tremendous technology for being able to carry music with us on one of these cassette tapes. And you could store an amazing number of, as many as 60 short songs on one of these tapes. Incredible stuff. If you wanted to communicate while you were traveling around using your paper map and compass, of course you had to keep your eyes open for one of these things where you could make a telephone call. It only cost you a quarter, as long as it wasn't a long distance phone call. But no one practically was carrying around a phone at that point. So these are just a handful of changes that I highlighted in terms of looking at the way that our world's changed in the last 25 years. I'd invite you to think about the possibilities for the changes that you may see in the next 25 years. Some incredible changes are coming down the pipe. Okay, and at the forefront of this, of course, computer engineering. So computer engineering is about making the kinds of gadgets that can change our lives in these ways. It's about robotics, it's about automation, it's about decision systems and sensors, device design, and the design of computers themselves. In TIJ 1.0, we're going to focus on the circuits aspect of this primarily, and design of circuits, communication of circuits through circuit schematics, and construction of devices, as well as a little bit of discussion of programming too. You'll be evaluated, you'll receive your grade based on a safety test, a soldering test, summative project, and your behavior in the classroom. So what's expected of you in the classroom? First and foremost, we want to be safe at all times. This is going to mean no food or drink in the work areas. It's going to mean no horseplay around the instrumentation that we use. It's going to involve cleaning up work areas before the bell. And it's expected that you're going to keep your phones put away unless they're being used for work tasks. As far as submissions go, all of our written assignments are going to be submitted through Google Classroom and Brightspace. We're not going to have any submissions through email or hard copies or through simple Google Drive shares. These are just too hard to track. So we'll use the links on Classroom and Brightspace to do our submissions. For your homework today, please go ahead and do the Google Form exit card and begin to review safety information in anticipation of the next lesson. Thanks very much. Have a great night.